The Green Stikbot 2 is finally out, and after all the hype and anticipation, I can finally get my thoughts. Hopefully, my thoughts this time don't end up completely altering fan perception and the opinion of a series, alienating fans and then changing the view in a negative direction and advertently ending the franchise for better or for worse. Hopefully. And I'm not gonna lie, I have to say the movie was pretty good. Yeah, I know, right? It's so refreshing to see a movie in the community wholeheartedly get the recognition and respect it deserves. You can really feel how much passion and hard work these animators and writers put in. It's great. The movie succeeds at so much, however, it does have a good amount of flaws that we'll get into later. First, let's start off with the things I like. See, there was a big problem with the other Stikbot Multiverse Soul series that shall not be named, where the animation quality would go over the moon and back scene by scene. There would be a 10 to 15 minute section where the animation was like the best thing you've ever seen, and the next 9 minutes is just, not that great to say the least. The scene consistency is very good and spaced out here, so the rare somewhat lacking scene isn't that bothersome in the end. Speaking of animation, the action here is great. No scene in particular outstays its welcome, except for Mr. Jaden here. I'm not gonna lie, bro, like 5.5 minutes of screen time in total, which, put into perspective of the movie ordering, it gets pretty noticeable, but since he's a great animator, it's not that big of a deal. Each scene has a good amount of weight, great choreography and direction as well. Their game was on point here. Another very consistent thing being the plot consistency from scene to scene is seamless. Mostly. This may just sound like basic storytelling, but admittedly, having good plot and animation consistency between animators in a collab movie is way harder than it looks. And I'm happy to report, Green Stikbot 2 does a great job with continuing the plot scene by scene. If there's an extended safer battle that could have been cut with not much plot changes, the scene will either help characterize Green, help grow the stakes, or look good visually to make up for the lack of overall relevance. There's always something there that makes up for the lack of depth in other areas. Speaking of depth... Damn, that's a hard word to say really fast. Depth. What the hell? Character depth. Green is on the surface a blank canvas, but when you really look into his character, he's clearly a determined, morally gray character, at least in movie 1. Now he's ruthless, numb, cold, and still, more than ever, determined to get his way. With him being the anti-hero of the story, where Green's motivations are put out there, especially in the tone it's delivered by Cleofilm's surprising fit of his British accent for Green Stikbot, he really comes off as more intriguing and well set up rather than an undercooked and unclear character motivation. There's this sense of a greater scale in this that everyone is trying to save or destroy, that us, the viewer, can't exactly comprehend, and that's really remarkable to me. Safer Chief is kind of plain, but the way that he's painted and the way that he's voiced and filmed, it makes him seem like the bad guy. But when you really analyze the scenes where he fights and tries to help the mission, you can see he's just trying not to die. He wants to keep everything together for the sake of everyone. Opposing was basically a multi-dimensional demigod, making him seem very admirable and just a normal guy you can root for. Very cool. Cool supporting cast as well. Soundtrack was great, the effects were mostly great. Now, what could possibly go wrong?
Like I woke with the stick like a witch. You should have got him a...
There's some parts in the movie that have very bad audio editing. First, the scene that comes to mind is the beginning scene where the music was so loud you could barely hear the characters. My first scene has some of the sound effects a bit loud too, which admittedly is my bad. Most of the scenes that have this problem have very essential dialogue, which means that you'll have to replay the scenes during this, which I feel like it's not a nitpick at this point, it's an overall problem with the movie that I can point out. Speaking of making a point, there's another thing that I want to make a point of. The boss kinda sucks, besides some of his aura. The boss is introduced pretty late into the movie, besides that one picture of him in my scene, which already isn't too great of a pitch. Could have been handled somewhat better if he took center stage by the end, but that wasn't really the case. The boss has some menacing aura in like 1 or 2 scenes close to the end, otherwise there's really nothing to him. His power dynamic is never established in the way that he speaks, and neither are his powers or lack thereof. He honestly feels like a last minute addition to his own story. You could take him out of the story and besides a detail or two, nothing would change. He kinda just drags out the runtime a little bit more and then dies? I don't know, it all happens so fast. Speaking of fast, the finale was too short and undercooked. The Green Stikbot invasion plotline had the potential to be super cool and one of the greatest fan-made Stikbot plots of all time. I genuinely think that the scene where the message is sent out and it shows all the different Green Stikbots in the universes reacting to the signal is the most captivating and intense scene in the entire movie. Too bad the plotline has no visual significance after 2 scenes. The Green Stikbot invasion is portrayed through like 5 Stikbots and 2 scenes that don't really give a great scale of what's going on. And yeah, there's limits between animators, but there was definitely animators that could have definitely given a better scale to the Green Stikbot invasion. I feel like some of this problem was directed towards scene allocation. Then there's the point where all the Green Stikbots kind of just die, except for the main one. It kind of just happens, and there's no weight to it. No offense to the animators, but I feel like some scenes in the finale in general were allocated to the wrong people. A lot of the more important final battle scenes were given to animators with less visual flair, and I feel like that took away from the overall magnitude towards the end. In the end, the Green Stikbot Collab 2 is a great Stikbot movie. Some people call this the Across the Spider-Verse of the community, which is fair, and I mostly agree. I could totally see why people are saying that. Especially with the similar concepts and the very on-the-nose constant reference of GS being an anomaly, which, you know, I thought that was kind of funny. It's not really a problem with the movie, it's just something that I didn't notice. You're not low, Lucas, you're not low. But that's not a problem with the movie since the word is used correctly, and this is not like too overkill, so you know, it's whatever. I think this movie is a big factor that shows why editing and execution is everything in a movie. Great editing can only get you so far, but if the concept and execution is fumbled in the end or just like is fundamentally flawed, you're not going to get a great product. Which is why Lost Dimensions sort of lost its way and fumbled at the end. But hindsight is 2020, and thankfully this franchise now has Lost Dimensions to look back and take the good and the bad from, learn from it, and use it to make a better, most likely finale. I mean, the third one's basically all confirmed at this point for Green Stikbot 2. Now, I'm gonna steer this short segment to Lost Dimensions for a little to say, guys, I don't hate Lost Dimensions, okay? It's just very hard to see a series with so much potential kind of lose its way and falter at the end. Especially when a lot of the problems could have been avoided very easily by a little bit more attention to detail and care. Something so interesting about the Green Stikbot franchise is the amount of theories that can be made. Like, bro, you could talk about this movie for so long with people. Okay, Green is like clearly the villain by the end of this movie, spoilers, whatever. There's still so many unanswered questions though. Is Green Stikbot alive? Will the Green Stikbot invasion come into play in the third movie once again? What are Green Stikbot's true intentions? Did some of the safer hunters know more than they let on? The potential is limitless. So Lucas, it's a personal message to you because I know you're gonna watch this video. Please do not fumble the third movie and the fourth one if there is one. But yeah, overall, Lost Dimensions walked, so this series could run. Let's just hope that it crosses the finish line in a blaze of glory. Really enjoyed doing a review like this again for the one time, but we'll see if I do more. Depends on how this does, I guess. But yeah, I appreciate you for watching. Hopefully you stick around to watch more. And yeah, I'm out this. Stay golden, boys.